Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Aquarius Rising Africa. And it's Thursday. Beautiful new guest, Dr. Juliette Engel, who I'm really looking forward to chatting with. And yeah, also a survivor of Montauk, born into a family of intelligence agents, operatives, I think, agents, operatives. uh, Sold into MKUltra Monarch programming as a child, and wow, just I look forward to sharing her story with you. And yes, life in Russia, did some amazing, incredible. I had an amazing journey. However, before we go ahead with the lovely Dr. Juliette, let's just pop up the banners, the weekly schedule. Grandma needs glasses to magnify what's going on here. Okay, if you guys didn't catch Monday's show, Beverly Rhodes, awesome show, Vampire Nanny, ex-Vampire Nanny, and really talks to us about the vampires and crazy stuff. The reality is they're living right here with us, as us. Jamie J on Tuesday night, fantastic show with her. Unfortunately, my internet was giving me way too many issues. But at least Jamie's message, you guys could hear her. Fantastic. She's a brilliant researcher on MK Ultra and programming, mind control, stuff like that. So is a wealth of knowledge. Great show with her. We'll be having her back again as well. And of course, yesterday, Jessie, we had double trouble with Jessie again, Minnesota, as well as Q&A. Really had some very interesting stuff coming up there. So yeah, catch that. And of course, yeah, we got this wrong on the schedule. So Dr. Juliette now, Dr. Dennis Carroll later. And guys, my book is launching tomorrow. Launch of Honeycomb Tales, Adventures from the Ankara Field. So please, yeah, it's launching tomorrow. Enjoy it on Amazon. Watch the social media. You guys can get your copy then. And then, of course, Sunday Loop this week. But there may well be one or two other things popping up still. So, yeah, keep your eyes peeled. And without any further ado, Dr. Juliette Engel. Dr. Juliette, how are you? Welcome to Aquarius Rising Africa. So good to have you. How's it going?
Thank you. I'm looking forward to ordering your book.
It's so fun. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's a kid's storybook, but I never in a million years thought I'd ever write a kid's storybook. I do a lot of kids workshops, been working with kids since forever. You know, teach them animal communication. I always say you can't teach kids anything though. We just kind of like help just remind them that people like us are on this earth as well. So if you believe that you have an ability to connect with interspecies, then you do that, and this is where you do it. And but it's really cool. I must say, I'm very happy. It's very cool. So yeah, all about the bees and the First Nation people and the stewards of the Ankara field who go on some very cool adventures. So
Yes.
fun. Yeah, how you doing? It's really good to have you. Really good to see you. And I mean, I must have enjoyed our off-air conversations quite a bit.
Yes. Yes, I have too. And I've learned so much learning from watching your previous videos. And like you said, I am a survivor of MK Ultra. Not Montauk is on the East Coast of the United States, and I'm on the West Coast. So my programming is on the West Coast. But
Right.
when people from Montauk and I interact, our programming is almost identical. So the program in the United States was quite large, and we've done some calculations, and right now there must be about 300,000 survivors uh, living now, and you realize that only about 10% survive the programming itself. There's quite a few of
It's
us. I was
it
going to.
is absolutely sorry, it's just for me, it's absolutely amazing to think how many kids have gone through these programs. You know,
Millions.
in one of the recent shows I did with Jessie Zaberta on Montauk, actually, we did a decode on Montauk. She said that 5 million kids had gone through just Montauk alone. Never mind any other of the places, as you say, you on the different side of the globe there. But that is the entire white population of South Africa.
And it took place over, started in 1953, and it's still running. So it's taken place over 70, almost 80 years. So yeah, it's a phenomenal number, and the number that are living are just a small percentage of that because it's such a lethal program, and and but the ones that succeeded in becoming fully programmed are running our country, and that's a disaster.
Yeah,
So and I think more and more
absolutely.
we're learning they're running the world, that these people sort of had their reason and their human soul disconnected, and then were pushed forward through various government agencies into seats of power. And the people that kept their soul and survived the programming and kept their connection to the divine and to God and to love and to all the things that human beings should be connected to were sort of locked out. So you've got things are pretty reversed right now, and I think you see that, see the effects of that. So, well, anyway, you wanted me to tell
Wow.
my story, so I'll try and compact 76 years. I'm 76 years old into just a few minutes.
I,
So, so I was born in 1949, and my family were very deep into the OSS, which is the Office of Strategic Services, which became the CIA. And then my mother's brother is one of the founders of the NSA, the National Security Agency, and so the family was the family business basically. And in 1947, the CIA was started, and at this time, a group of I call them the 12 evil men, which included four of my uncles, uh, who were all German speakers, were working in Nuremberg, and they got their hands on. They were supposed to be investigating and putting on trial the Nazi scientists who had done the programming work in the concentration camps in Germany and wherever uh, Germany occupied. And so the Nazi experiments were all gathered, the data was gathered in one place, and the 12 evil men had access to it and saw a tremendous opportunity because they didn't want all these good crimes to go to waste. So they recruited the scientists to come to the United States. They brought, we don't know how many, but thousands were brought to the United States and taken to Huntsville, Alabama, where they were and their families, where they were reoriented and taught English and given new names and identities, and then sent to facilities around the United States. And we know there were at least 150 facilities started by 1953, which was when the MKUltra program unofficially started. So the program was started by the Dulles brothers, Alan Dulles, who was head of the CIA, brand new CIA, brand new agency, and John Foster Dulles, the head of the State Department, his brother, and then a group of people who were all very close to my uncles. And this group of people uh, basically gave the labs an unlimited funding to the scientists that they had who were supposedly executed in Nuremberg for crimes against humanity, brought them into the United States and turned over their own children to these people. So that's how I got into the program. Um, so it started in 1953, and I was sold into it by my father, well, basically my whole family, in 1955. So I was 6 years old. And as part of that program, my father sold me. It was a ritual. I was forced to watch him take money for me. And when I was screaming for his help, he turned to me and said, "This is what I raised you for."
How old were
And
you when that happened, Juliet?
six,
When
six.
can you just talk us through that, please? Because that to me is always fascinating how these guys do that, because it's like they will sometimes they take the children and they start traumatizing them right from birth, right?
That happened.
Sometimes 18 months old, sometimes 3 years old. And it seems like also 5 or 6 when they start again. So, were you trauma bonded to your father? Because if, from what I'm hearing you say, your parents were already entrenched in this, call it the CIA, right? So
Yeah.
you were already a done deal
I was
by
a,
the
I was
time
a
you were born,
I was a done deal before I was born. Um,
right? So explain to us that process. How did that happen for you? The way you recall it.
well, I've been remembering a little bit more. The one memory that has never come back to me is my mother, but I'm starting to remember, and now I'm remembering why I don't remember. And she was physically involved with this man who is one of the founders of the MKUltra program, and his name
Who
is
is that?
Dr. George Hunter White, and he was the Dr. White. The German scientists were installed in the labs, and they were all called Dr. Green. And then they
Dr.
had
White.
then this the Dr. White may have even come. This is his real name, so they might have gotten that idea and thought that was just so funny. So every lab had a Dr. White, but he became my handler, which is why I remember him so clearly. And he was the one that my father sold me to, and then as part of the ritual,
How did that happen? Please explain to us, how did that happen? I'm trying to explain, at what point did you realize you were being sold? When you say there was money exchanging
well,
in front of your.
I was taken to the park by my father. Like father taking his daughter to the park to play, and he introduced me to a friend of his from the Navy, and his friend gave me a bottle of Coca-Cola, which I'd never seen before, and I drank it, and then was unconscious. And when I came to, I was tied face down on a black, shiny fabric that smelled terrible and couldn't move. And there was my father taking money right in front of my face. And yeah, and then I was raped. Who did it? I'm not sure. It wasn't my father, and it wasn't this man because I was looking at those two. So I don't know who, but um, yeah, I was screaming and screaming for my father, and he just turned around and said, "This is what I raised you for." And I understood that I wasn't going to get help, that I was all alone. I already knew that I was alone from my mother. I wasn't relying on my mother for anything. And and I had always counted on my father, and I realized no, not him either. So
Can you explain to us the relationship you had with your mom up until that point? Because it would seem that they definitely, up until the age of 6, trauma bonded you to your dad. And that would have meant that obviously your mother would have been made or seen to be this uncaring, unloving mother. What was the
Oh, brutal.
situation?
No, she
So
was.
your mom was your abuser and your father was your protector for the first 6 years of your life. And then suddenly, in a heartbeat, and with money exchanging hands in front of you at the age of 6, your father sells you and you are
Yes.
raped.
Yep. While he watched. Yeah, it was complete betrayal. Yeah, my mother, I can't get my mother. I As close as I can get to it is I saw in the 1970s, I saw the movie Sybil. Did you ever see that? It's about a young woman who develops all kinds of split personalities because had
Yes,
been,
yes, I did.
sh- she'd been tortured by her mother,
Yeah.
and they showed some of those scenes, and to me it was like it totally clicked, and I realized that had happened to me, and that's why I could never remember my mother. At that time, my mother was around. I saw her, and but after that, I'd never trusted her. And anyway, so that's all I have. I Trying to get to her at all is practically impossible. I think as I grew up, um, it became obvious she was very involved with the MKUltra people, and of course, she talked all the time to my uncle, who at that time was very high in the NSA, and they expected me to be a vril girl and a spy, and I guess in all the family, I'm the one that was most like my uncle in terms of having a photographic memory and a lot of abilities that they wanted. And so I was I've written about this in my book Sparky: Surviving Sex Magic, which I don't see here, but it's on Amazon. So when you're looking at Chantelle's book, you can look up my book, which is Sparky.
It's we're gonna. It's all of that information is in the description area. I want to just see if we've. Here we go. I've got it up here. Thank you.
Oh, good.
So all of Dr. Juliette's links, to websites, and book links and stuff will be there.
Great.
Yeah.
Yes, so because that's gives you much more information about it. And I wrote Sparky as I was starting to recover my memories, which was years and years later. And as how to describe this in 5 minutes? It's very difficult. But I then grew up uh, half the time in the CIA annexes, different ones every time, and different programs, different people. But each site had a Dr. Green, a Dr. White, Nanny Blacks, and sometimes Dr. Browns. And mostly I was around Southern California, but different areas. And the year that I wrote about in Sparky, um, I was on the border of Mexico in a town called Imperial Beach, which is as close as you can get to Mexico, in the site of just horrendous human trafficking, and uh, we lived on the edge of the San Diego sewer or the Tijuana sewer. Well, it's both, but it's the all the raw sewage from Tijuana comes through that swampland, and that was the happiest year of my childhood was playing in that swamp on my bicycle, and uh, and I write about it. I write about it in Sparky because I was 10 years old and I was going into puberty, and I understood that what awaited me was a life of abuse and prostitution. I knew what that was because the apartment building that we lived in was full of brothels, and so that's Sparky and how I got through that. And I try in Sparky to put myself in the position back, thinking as I did as a magical thinker as a child, because I think since I could do that, I can share the child's experience as opposed to the adult thinking
Right.
evaluation of what happened and analysis. I want it to be through the fantasy life of the child because I lived in a state of dissociation. Uh, I couldn't get out of it if I tried, and I did try, but I would go right back. So I lived outside of myself and lived as different characters and different people, which is why they consider it a dissociative identity. They call it a disorder, but it isn't really a disorder. It's a survival mechanism.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's your mind's way of protecting you.
Hmm. And to become someone other than myself, because being myself was just too despicable. So in my 10th year, I became the character Sparky, who is this feisty warrior kid and terribly brave, very strong, very smart, and determined to survive. And I actually became that person, and I've been Sparky ever since. So, but that was a conscious
Right.
decision as a 10-year-old child. Was I gonna just submit and just let them do what they wanted, or was I gonna fight them every inch of the way? And I decided to fight them every inch of the way, which
Can I can I ask you? And you say that was when you were 10, and the abuse started when you were 6 from your dad and his friends. Was
and
were you then? Sorry,
and my mother earlier.
right. Okay, so already there was abuse. It was, and then your mom. What was the process after that? Like the day that your dad sold you, literally, you would have gone home with him. What changed at home after that and took you to being Sparky? Were they testing you? Were they must have then been doing all sorts of programming and tests on you at this point then, yeah?
Absolutely, yeah. Almost immediately, I was put into an annex in Seattle and left there for weeks. Uh, and the every session began with me tied down naked on a wheel, and they would turn the wheel, and men would be standing around the edge of the wheel, and they'd be chanting, "There is no light, there is no dark, there is no day, there is no night, there is no good, there is no bad, there is no black." There, on and on and on as the wheel went faster and faster and faster, and everything in the room was like black and white. But then as the wheel turned and went faster and faster, it went into green. And that was the objective, because to release your soul, you do it in a flash of green. And that's what they said. And so I think the green agenda, the green, all the green sustainability, all that is more about death than it is about life, because it's the death of personality, the death of the soul, the death of your resistance. Um, it's
Right.
the color between black and white. I, I've heard that. I mean, that was there. That I would hear over and over and over again. That there is a color
Wow.
between black and white, and that is green. You don't see it, but it's there.
Right.
S-
And it's
So,
isn't it interesting also that green and pink are the colors of the heart chakra,
mm,
actually. So when you look at that death, no light, it's like it's again just highlights to me the inversion and how they are working with inversions. But anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
no, it's
Please
really
carry
that's
on.
how I learn things. Um, Yeah, it's in looking back, everything had a variety of symbols. So they were using sort of everything, trying everything out. Um, they had Eastern symbols, they had runes, they had uh, um, they used the yin yang sometimes on the wheel, or the wheel would have other symbols, but it would always be black and white, and they would spin you until everything turned green. Um, when I'd gotten through that state, then they would begin the rest of the programming, and that would that's very hard for me to get in any kind of logical way because it always involved drugs. So I can get the coming into it and I can get the coming out of it, but it's like trying to remember when you're under anesthesia, you can't. You know there was something traumatic that happened, but I can't get those parts. And as time went by, uh, uh, it was extremely important to learn, or to be a vessel for them to transport or teleport or project through time and space, and and they would and that involved transferring with your physical body. But you can't, of course, you can't do that. So it's like pulling the energy, your energetic body out of your physical body, and that can transport. But the trouble is, it can also get stuck or lost. And a lot of children died because they couldn't get back. And I think that's in from what I understand about the Montauk experiments. Um, that's how they
Yes.
lost. They lost like 90% of the children because it's very difficult to control. I could get back, and I didn't go out too far, and, although I nearly did a couple of times, but, oth I saw other
Can you
kids just go.
can you explain to us in the best way you can remember it what it felt like for you in that moment of being spun and having these creatures of the night chanting their devilish whatever it is they were doing, and that moment that you exit your body, and when you say you didn't go too far, what do you mean? How does it feel to be out there? How did you know when you were going too far? How did you know when to come back? Can you talk, maybe give us a little bit of insight on that?
Well, in, retrospect, I hadn't really thought about this before. It was the dissociation that protected my body because
Yes.
I was outside of my body, but it wasn't my energy body that was outside of my body. It was my some form of my consciousness. I mean, I was physically able to look down and see myself, but my energy didn't come out of my body. So my body was taken care of. So I was taking care of my body because I didn't want to
Wow.
die. I wanted to grow up. I wanted to get out of this. And but it was a real art to do that. It was like playing an intricate piece on the piano. It took a lot of skill, and they would try to trip me up and get me to send more of myself out, but I didn't. I understood that they would win if I did that. And we
How
had
did how did they how did they try and do that? Did that involve more torture for the child?
oh, yeah,
To try and
spinning.
dissociate you more so that you would then, I can imagine for a poor you poor kids. I mean, it's either exit your body or die.
Which is the same thing.
It's a
I
sure.
if you can't split and exit your body, in just this one, maybe it's one of those, activating one of those antenna, one of those genes, but keeping the other one, the big one, because you have to keep your energy core in your body. You can't let that go out. Um, Later,
Yeah.
or actually, it was before I was 10. When I was 8, I was taken down to a beach in Mexico. This was at the end of a summer, and it was a group of California high politicians, including the governor and the senator, and they had the MK. They had Mein Kampf. They had the actual book, and the real book has all the, or what they had anyway, had the research that the 12 evil men had collected at Nuremberg, which was the accumulation not just of what the Nazi scientists had achieved by torturing millions of innocent people during World War II. It was when the Nazis began their whole, or the societies that became the Nazis began their collection of ancient volumes and artifacts and spells and mythology, and they wanted to try it out. So they took a bunch of us kids down to Mexico for 2 weeks, and I think there were 33 children. I can guarantee you there were 33 children, and we were just running around for 2 weeks in our underpants, and they wouldn't feed us anything, and then at night, we'd be really, really hungry, and they would start cooking on a grill, and before we got anything to eat, once it was dark, we would have to open portals, we would have to bring in aliens, through our own bodies, which meant sending your energetic body through the portal and bringing back another energetic body, and and uh, and that's another terribly risky thing, is to, I suppose you would call that astral projection, and then bringing back another entity. You can't control that.
How was that? How did that happen energetically that you would go there and bring the other entity back? I can understand they would have used you to open up the portals. I'm trying to understand how you yourself energetically would be bringing back an entity. Was there a certain ritual? Was there a certain way you do that? How does that
Probably,
happen?
probably, but I was 8 years old, at most 9 years old, and they had the books, the drugs, the eh, there were they started with 33 kids, and the
33 again.
yeah, it was 33,
33 again.
and they finished probably with about 15. I think most of them died in these experiments, and the adults would be different. There'd be different ones that came down on different days, and everybody was on drugs, and we were on drugs. So the wheres and the wherefores, I don't know, but I did understand that they needed clean spirits. They needed children to go through the portals. Besides, they didn't want to die, so they were perfectly happy sending us. And the mechanisms, the spells, the I don't know. I really don't, because as soon as as soon as we'd collapsed or I'd collapsed, I got my cheeseburger or whatever it is that they were cooking, and then just passed out. But I was aware, very aware of other entities coming with me. When I
Right,
when I came back, I knew others were coming with me, and
right.
other kids would go out and die, and and uh, and some would come back, and they'd be bringing entities with them. Um, but then after that, they were done with
Did
us.
did you know any of the kids that didn't come back, for example? I know when we're speaking to some of the Montauk survivors as well, they're talking about being in cages,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I know you've done a show with Chris Latera, and I would love
Mhm.
to have the two of you on together because even though he's a Montauk survivor, and as you say, your stories carry such a similar thread.
Yeah,
You
it
know,
was
it's actually quite
shocking.
amazing that these things have gone down. I mean, it's unbelievable, and of course, you know that the unending torture that that you kids went through. And I mean, I could just imagine you've been out the whole day running around in your underwear, obviously hot and what have you. Come home, you're hungry, you want to eat. Oh no. I mean, they really, I mean, that is torture to do that to a child.
Yeah, and
Sitting
it
there
was
grilling.
really hot, no
Yeah.
water, and, it made us very compliant.
They,
Um,
I was going to say, they know exactly how to bend your little minds
mhm.
because, firstly, they are so much bigger than you. And of course, all of you are there, little kids, terrified. You know they've got the power. Um, yeah, absolutely. And what Chris was actually saying in one of his shows was that in one of the cages, there was a kid that actually literally strapped up upside down and he was bleeding out into like a pan at the bottom. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that they would do. Did you guys experience that level of torture as well? Because I mean that's torture on a whole nother level to
Well,
see that.
on the beach in Mexico, they didn't need to lock us up because there was nowhere to go, and it was cold at night. We didn't have any clothes, so we stuck around where the fire was and where it was warm. Um, but when one particular time, I remember I was younger than that, and I was, locked up in a cage under Lookout Mountain outside of Los Angeles in the Laurel Canyon Hills, and, the facility there actually was built for Hitler as his post World War II luxury home in Los Angeles, and so it was his followers that built that place, and it had a movie studio in the lower part of it, and by the time, so let's see if I was, probably 9 so probably 1957, 58, they were making, snuff films in the lower part of it, so they used us to make the snuff films, and again, we had no clothes, just underpants, and were kept in cages, and in talking to Chris, that was one of the things that was so strikingly similar is the way they did the cages because there would be a cage, a bed, basically, a bed with a top with bars over the top. So it was a cage, but also a bed, and then with a child in it. Then the next one would have no child in it, be empty, and then the next one would have a child in it. But then they'd have another layer on top, which would be empty, child, empty. So you could hear the children in the other cages, but you couldn't see them. And and then they were when they were making the snuff films, they brought in foreign children. And the horrible thing is the CIA has just released documents where they admit to all of this. And I see you've got the link running under this broadcast. But the National Security Archive published this in December of 2024. So it's really just out. Most people don't even realize it's available, but it's 1,200 pages describing how they set up the safe houses, who did it, why they did it. CIA admits to everything, and they admit to torture, drug use, unlimited funding, um, how the 12 evil men got started, how Eli Lilly provided unlimited amounts of LSD for their experimentation. And their goal was to create drugs that would make the entire American population stupid and make their decisions based on emotion. And they did that because a derivative of LSD is Prozac. And Prozac became the most widely prescribed drug in America, and it pretty much
Yeah,
makes you.
too.
That's the thing that is I've just really learned in the last few months is that this was global, and they do talk in the documentation. In these documents, you'll find where they are discussing what other countries they're going to do this in, and how they start sharing the information with members of Five Eyes. So is South Africa part of the Five Eyes network? I know.
Must be. I
I'm
would
sure it
imagine.
is.
Yeah, I mean, we are very much under colonial. I mean,
Yeah, that
British
it is.
colonial. Yeah, no,
Australia,
for
New
sure.
Zealand, yeah. So
Yeah.
all of them got the programming, the techniques, and I'm sure some of the Nazi scientists. But the extent of this is creating a global population that cannot reason.
I am, I can, okay, I'm a show host. I know I should be calm, but
No, it's horrible. It's terrible.
there is no ways when I hear these stories, and after so many years hearing again these monsters, what, and they're admitting it. Who is actually taking effing responsibility for torturing children? Oh, the CIA is now declassified documents. All these guys are now dead. They're not all dead.
They're not all dead,
So many of
and
them are still alive, and they need to be
dead.
thrown under the bus. They need to be exposed. I'm so sick and tired of hearing one story after the other. Eli Lilly, yeah, they're huge here as well,
Are they?
supplying uh, uh, LSD for the CIA to do
By the
these
ton.
horrific.
They said by the ton they donated it. So as much as they wanted, they could get for free from Eli Lilly to develop the drugs that became uh, Prozac and all the derivatives. That was just the first go.
Yeah, Prozac is a big drug here, and I tell you, I can't tell you how many times as a healer I've helped people get off that drug. It is horrific. It really is like detoxing from heroin. I said to my one client once, and I mean she was an elderly lady. She was so zoned out, but she was determined to get off. And earlier when she was young, she'd been addicted to heroin, and when she was going, and then when we were going through the Prozac detox, she said to me, "This is like heroin." I said, "I know." I said, "It is like heroin." I said, "It
Well,
is."
yeah, and it was designed to be.
Yeah.
And another thing
So,
that is
mm,
stunning in these documents is they talk about the importance of getting medical doctors to go along with this. How will they get MDs and medical professionals to participate in the experiments? And then even they were surprised at how easy it was that doctors who were supposed to have this deep moral compass and this compassion for their patients, if you gave them money, they were like, oh, okay. So they bought the medical profession. Horrific.
yeah,
I mean, just horrific. But people need to know this. They also did the experimentation on numbing people down so they could do a fake pandemic and then genocide everyone. So it's all here. Y'all can read it. And And
Well, I would actually love to get that. And maybe on one of our future shows, we can actually talk about what's in there.
that'd be
So I'm going
very
to get the
good.
link from you.
It's
Yeah,
you. I
I'm going
see
to
it
get the
running.
link from you.
It's on your.
Okay,
It's going across the
perfect.
bottom of your page, so you have it.
Okay,
There it is.
perfect.
Yes,
So we'll get that going, and then when we talk again, we'll go more into that. But I got to tell you, this is so infuriating for me to hear. I mean, I was watching this morning, in fact, or last night. Um, Christopher, I think his name is Garitano, who was actually doing the research on Montauk as well, and
oh,
the lies and the how they've lied. They eventually had these soil experts in there testing soil to see if there's anything buried underneath and what have you. Absolutely, there is. But they, on many levels, are denying that Montauk even existed. For me, it's like, why are they lying about that? They're admitting X, Y, and Z. But I think seriously, Montauk, I've said it before, was like the highway to hell. With that chair that they had the kids sitting in, that enabled them to hear people thinking,
oh,
astral project, do all
yeah.
sorts of things, you
That was
know.
another one that Chris and I started talking about because we did the same, and they in one set of experiments they had me communicating. I was underneath a huge tank of water, and there were elephant seals in the tank, and I had to communicate with the elephant seals, who are very hostile, aggressive creatures, and will kill you if you get near them in their enclosure. And they wouldn't let anyone in their enclosure. So I was supposed to like make friends with them while I was in the bottom of this tank. And then they put me in the cage, and and we got along fine. I was the only one that could go in the cage and sit down, and they would just, like, pile around me. So,
They could feel you weren't evil, that's why.
yeah, they
Yeah,
knew
they will.
we were
They will know who
communicating.
they. Totally. That's one
Yeah.
thing about animals. They will always know. They feel your resonance. They'll
Oh,
know.
I liked
Oh,
being in there with them so much better than outside with the humans. I was just so happy to see them. But, well,
wow.
I'm out of time for this session, but, I think we can continue on all these things, and
No, we're definitely going to.
you
Yeah,
should
we
get me and
definitely.
Chris together.
That's absolutely part of the plan. And I'd love to do a series of shows with you as well, talking more because there's so much that you still have to share with us. I know you're a medical doctor. From your experience, you went on, and I know you spent quite a bit of time in Russia as well. And
Mhm.
I would obviously love to get into more of those shows with you and get into more of those details where you um, expand on that for us as well. So if you're willing, we'd love to have you back again, Dr. Juliette.
I'd be glad to do it, and I have to say that doing a session with you as a healer, I mean, I sense your energy, and I'm getting more information from my own past by being, even though we're on the other sides of the planet, it doesn't make any difference. So, it's draining for me because,
Yeah,
I realize there's so much
absolutely.
more. There's so much more. Okay, my
Yeah,
dear.
absolutely.
I
Thank you.
have
Thank
to go
you
take a
so much.
nap.
I appreciate. Yeah, no, I know we seem to obviously have an overlap here again. I appreciate you, Dr. Juliet. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Um, and God bless. I know this is draining for you guys, and thank you for sharing and
And thank you for
enlightening us
doing
through
it.
some of these hard.
Thank you for doing it.
Yeah,
We need
indeed.
you non-programmed people.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, everybody. I so appreciate all our beautiful viewers who are always in the chats and supporting and loving and doing everything you guys do. I will see you in a little while with Dennis Carroll, and we'll have Dr. Juliette back again in a few days again. But yeah, gosh, what a crazy, crazy, crazy. The level of the the depth of depravity that the the United States government has treated not just its own people, but humanity. You know, we hear always about, talking about the foreign kids that were there for the snuff movies. It's always the foreign kids that get brought in to be part of these atrocious, torturous experiences. It really is time that we wake up. And I know we are awake. I know I'm kind of saying that, me preaching to the converted. But guys, these shows need to be shared. So please share, just share. And as you see with Dr. Juliette, it's very tiring for them to spend an hour talking about this stuff. And most of them have been so cut off at the knees, where they're not allowed to earn, they are blacklisted basically from earning. They can earn menial salaries or wages, stuff like that, but they are totally suppressed when it comes to being allowed, right? We know that we're never free anyway. Being allowed to just live the life you want after you've come out of such an atrocious situation. But anyway, I thank you for watching, for sharing. It's just such a respectful way of supporting our survivors, is by listening to their stories. And on that note, guys, God bless you. Thank you so much. I will see you in a little bit with Dr. Dennis, 1717 here. Take care, everybody. Have a beautiful day. And remember, the book is launching tomorrow, 10:10 Central Africa time, on the 10th of the 10th at 10:10 a.m.